This show is brought to you by our friends at bayphoto.com. Head over after the show to print something amazing. Be sure to check out their specials at bayphoto.com/specials.
Okay, well, we're ready to look at some stuff to get critiqued, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So our first photo we're taking a look at is from their username is Fishography, or Fishography.
Okay. Does that mean you take photos of fish?
I think so. They also it appears they're fishing in their profile picture.
Okay.
But in this one, they're doing some experimenting. So first post here, and first time exploring shutter speeds. Images are a bit grainy. Is it time to add a filter? And so I've got this photo in black and white, and then they also have a second photo. Let me find that, but you can critique on this one if you want while I grab the other one.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a lot of grain, but that doesn't mean it's not there. I mean, everything we look at is coming through several layers of electronics. But if you want to deal with it, you certainly should. Okay, it's a black and white of a street scene, interesting kind of town. And if it's just an experiment, that's fine. It's, to me, there is a person that looks like behind that car, but it's very difficult to see that that's really like what we're supposed to be looking at. My eye goes, of course, to the tin cottage. That's kind of the center. It would be nice to have a subject right there, somebody walking into a tin cottage or walking out. That person who's sort of kind of barely visible behind the car, yeah, have them walk into the tin cottage. It'll just add some life to this thing, and it'll give you a punctuation point and give you a center of attention. Again, you've heard me say this, but I'll say it again. Unless you're shooting a documentary, you are free to be the director. You're not doing photojournalism. If you're creating a photograph, be the director. Get that person to walk into the frame or walk into the store there or walk out of it would probably be even more interesting. So you've got a good street scene set up, do something with it.
This is the color one that they took, and I think, at least on my end, I can see a little bit more grain in this one, but once again, it's
noise,
color.
Yeah, this is more interesting because of those three girls. And I see your long exposure there. That's kind of car going by with the taillights. It looks like the red taillight. It's interesting. Keep working on it. You're experimenting, so just keep experimenting until you've got, these are tools, and I do use that a slow shutter speed if I want to show motion. It's interesting how those girls were standing pretty still because they're not wiggling around, but you had a car go by. So good on your experimentation. Keep it up.
All right. This one, we're going a little bit into the past, but it was submitted by our good friend Christopher Carpenter.
We're going back to Christmas time.
Yeah, and this is in New Orleans. So
you get around, don't you, Chris? Christopher, you're in New York, you're in Mexico, on the border. That's an interesting, photograph. The guy looks like he's out of Mandalorian, which, by the way, has a new season. I saw. I haven't checked it out yet. You've already gotten into it, Jared?
Oh, it hasn't started yet, but the trailer is.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
It looks awesome.
My grandson is a huge fan, and we have watched some, but he won't watch any with me that he hasn't seen with his dad. He and his dad get the first viewing, and he will not go ahead. I couldn't get him to. No, Dad, I haven't seen it with my dad yet. I can't watch that. Anyway, that does look like something out of Mandalorian. The guy is so shadowy. It's interesting with the glasses. And what he's doing is kind of hiding there. He's keeping himself hidden. Yeah, that's interesting. You've got also his foot being raised, so he's tapping. Yeah, that's cool. That's an important gesture point. I'm sure you probably played with the shadows to try to see what it looked like to bring out maybe some of his face. It's probably not a lot to work with there. With Lightroom and Photoshop, you could put a mask around that and play with that. I'm guessing there just isn't much to work with. There's just not a much detail. But anyway, it's an interesting street scene. So it tells us a story about this sax player. Nobody is around him, which is also kind of interesting. He's just hanging out with apparently nobody around. And that sort of says something about what's going on at that time. But good one. Okay. And it's framed nicely between those pillars. You've got a good frame there. And those little bits of light around his left side. Yeah, those little lights kind of peeking through. Give it a little bit of a layering effect, which is cool. All right.
This next one, so I'm going to take two. So Sue had some fun visitors over at her house. She said this one was a big surprise, and she had to just quickly use her iPhone 13 to take this photo. But as we like to say, the best camera you have is the one that you have.
The one that's with you. Yeah.
The one in your hands.
That's pretty cool. What are those?
Elk.
It's an elk, but no antlers. That's an elk, huh? Okay.
Yep.
There's your golden. That's what my golden would be doing, although she'd probably be barking her head off. I'm sure there was some barking.
The caption with this was 2 gentle souls.
I know. It's kind of interesting that your golden is not just freaking out and barking all over the place. I love that little touch of the nose. That's really cool.
And then as a quick DSLR, this is one that she took in a series later.
Okay, so there's elk.
When she was able to get her DSLR.
Yeah. I always think of elk with their antlers, but this maybe just because of the timing. But anyway, go back to the other one. So you're getting a moment there. That's what's cool about that. Just a tiny little thing. I'd just get rid of that chair leg on the right, just because, it's interesting. What was I watching? Oh yeah. I look at a lot of stuff, especially if it has the word creativity in it. And Rick Rubin, who you may or may not recognize, is an incredible music producer who's produced hundreds of really great artists. And he was on 60 Minutes recently. He came out with a new book. He was on 60 Minutes last week and also another podcast. And, it's amazing what you can learn from other genres, or not even other genres, other mediums. And he was talking about in music, it's mostly about getting rid of things. Getting rid of that excess stuff. Phil Spector was all about adding, building this big sound. And that's amazing. He had the wall of sound. He had these big, like Ike and Tina Turner, this just incredible presence of sound. That's one way to go. But Rick Rubin was saying, look at what you can remove. And photography is often about what you can get rid of so that your eye does not wander. So, Sue, I would just edit that chair leg out of there. Yeah, you can certainly do that in Photoshop or Lightroom. You could crop it if you needed to. But that would leave my eye just now really focused on your two subjects. That coming together right there that's where the magic is right there. So try to get rid of anything that just deflects your attention. If you think of it in terms of music, you don't want to have, like in the middle of a guitar solo, like a cymbal, right? Bang, that would then, whoa, wait a minute, why did that interrupt this instrument that I want to put my attention on? Attention is a really important thing. It's a really big component in what we're doing with our art, is we're putting attention, we're drawing attention, we're pointing out, we're directing attention. And that's going back to the goal point. Why do you set a goal? Because you want to direct your attention towards the big picture. Where are you going with this? So that you're not doing this. You're not just wandering around one day, oh, I think I should make a book. No, I really should be going out and doing wedding photography. No, I think I'll go into video. You know, you're like a drunk driver at that point. You're just weaving all over the place. Stay focused. Okay, let's see who's next.
All right, let's continue with the theme of wildlife. We've got a photo here from Yael, and the caption with this one was saying the camera, it's a Canon R6. Let me try zooming in a little bit.
And I see a comment from JayZ JF. Yeah, I agree. You know, that mystery is a cool thing. I'm just always curious what else might be able to be accomplished with it. There's a fair amount of noise I see in this image.
And I think that might be, it's a little lower quality.
Yeah. Okay.
Image. I think that's where some.
It's cool of, you know, how you got all those birds doing different like things. They're kind of moving around, they're different wings. That's actually a really interesting photograph. You know what might be really interesting to try is to make it into a total silhouette, get rid of the blue sky, make that white. Just a thought. Just, you might try that. Just turn it into a black and white. Sometimes I'll do that if it's just like there's really nothing in the background. In this case, there's just blue. Get rid of it altogether and just make it a white, just absolutely white. Check that out. See what you think. That's my first thought. But
yes, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, it's interesting though. If you guys like these suggestions, you don't have to do them or not. But one thing I suggest that you do is try them out and then you repost them on the AYP club site. And let's let other people comment on it, and I'll go back and look at them too and let you know what I think. That's the beauty of our community. We can keep following up. We don't have to just have this broadcast and then disappear. Please subscribe and enable the bell so you don't miss any of our new shows. Like the video and please share it and leave your comments. I love hearing from you. And remember to get out and capture your own images of life.